Welcome back to Wall Street Week. We're joined by Boone Pickens and Mark Fisher. A recent Gallup poll shows Americans' opposition to fracking is now at 51%.
Yeah, and Bernie Sanders has made anti-fracking a central part of his presidential campaign, forcing other 2016 candidates into the discussion. Mark, do you worry that the next president could do to oil what the Obama administration actually did to the coal industry? We know it wasn't good.
I don't really, I'm a little concerned about whoever the next president is and what they do to the oil industry and that gas industry. But I think banning fracking altogether is insanity. I mean, it can be done, it could be done very efficiently, obviously with a lot of safeguards on it to protect the environment. You know, there's new technology to replace the water that goes in with fracking. But just to go ahead and, and just ban it, we're just going to end up going ahead and creating our next energy crisis ourselves when we have the opportunity to actually be the world swing producer and energy producer in all energy. It's nuts to me.
Yeah. What do you think, Boone?
Absolutely nuts. You're producing globally every day 94 million barrels of oil. 70% of that goes to transportation fuel. Think.
Wow.
You shut that off, you shut down the world.
So you're not exactly going to have solar energy transporting you from one place to the next.
Well, solar and wind are power generation. They are not transportation fuel.
Right.
They don't even compete.
Can't.
No.
So Boone, who would be the best candidate to become president related to energy?
Probably Trump.
Why?
Understands the business better.
What do you make of this election here? I mean, you've got a lot of mudslinging, we know, but that's politics. How do you think the economy, the markets react to a Donald Trump presidency?
I think that we've got to do something about the $19 trillion in debt. He knows you have to have an economy that is better than 2%. 2%, we're in a death spiral. So I think he understands that. And consequently, I think that he will see the best way to rebuild the economy is off the back of cheap energy. We have the cheapest energy in the world, and we're abundantly supplied in America. We have more natural gas than anybody in the world, not the most oil, but we are in the top 2. What
do you think, Mark? Who's the best candidate for the energy industry, but also the broader economy?
Well, Anthony, you and I had a discussion before the show about, I think that there should be a third political party in the United States called none of the above in all these elections. And if none of the above outpolls both candidates are taken off the ballot. In 6 months, you have another election. But with that being said, I know that's completely out of the box. But with that being said, I think that the best chance that Donald Trump has, is if he goes ahead and announces who his cabinet, who is top 12 Secretary of State, everything before the election. So not only is he running, but his entire group is running against the Democrats.
Yeah,
and I think that's
an important point that you make, because people want to see that he's going to surround himself with smart, informed people. So let's take it to the other side, Boone, because a lot of people talking about Donald Trump being unable to beat Hillary. What does a Hillary Clinton presidency do for markets and the economy?
Well, Hillary Clinton she said the same thing that Bernie did. That was no fracking. That's nuts.
What about the broader economy?
Pardon me?
Broader economy. She is going to raise taxes, but it's partly because she says she wants to spend it on things like health care.
and infrastructure. She's got that in her plan as well.
Yeah, infrastructure should go back, if you're going to do that, go back to FDR. Do the WPA. Pay people to work, but they work.
Right, and then those wages recirculate back into the economy, which leads to some modest growth.
Exactly. But her plan will not get you 5% growth. No way.
Do you think that when you look at the natural gas industry, a Democratic president does what to that industry, though? Is that a massive recessionary force in that industry?
That a Democrat does, you say?
Yeah. Either of those two candidates.
Well, all they talk about is renewables, wind and solar. Wind and solar, you know, wind doesn't blow every day, and the sun doesn't shine every day. Wind and solar will never be a big percentage of power generation. Will it get to 10%? Sure, it could get there, maybe 20. But you have to do that with natural gas is where you are on power generation.
Mark, what kind of policies would you recommend to the next president for the energy industry and specifically the natural gas industry?
Well, in terms of energy infrastructure, I think that if government tries to spend the money, it's going to do a terrible job. I think there's got to be some type of, instead of quantitative easing, some type of incentive to industry, okay, to create like a QE effect on infrastructure where it engages companies to go ahead and hire more people, train them, re-educate them, and build out this country infrastructure, roads, bridges, everything that this country needs. But if the government's going to spend the money, it's never going to work.
So it's just going to be a lot of tax reform, Maria, I think.
Yeah.
So you're really talking more tax reform and incentives to help the private market, basically.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says. Tax reform is necessary because of the highest corporate rate in the world. How big of an impact would tax reform have if the market started sensing that we're going to get a leader in there that's actually going to implement tax reform in year one? What happens to markets?
Oh, you can't. I mean, Hillary's approach is raise taxes. That's a killer. It's a killer. We already have the highest tax rate for corporations in the world.
So a tax cut, though, market rallies off the tax cut. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
What do you think, Mark? Tax cut, market rallies?
I think the market is in such a place that people, look what's happened in the last couple of months. You have terrible earnings reports and everything, and yet the market still just keeps, Apple reports, the market still holds its own. And that's because really these companies that are in the S&P 500 or the Dow, this is the place where people at least can put their money. I mean, Anthony, I told you I'm involved in creating a new index based on the essential 40 companies in the United States, like a new type of ETF. But again, where are people supposed to put their money and trust their money? Are they going to trust their money in government bonds yielding sub 2%? Are they going to trust their money? So, at least with these companies, with these, I view the market as more of there's no other place to put your money at this point.
Boone Pickens and Mark Fisher, thanks for joining us.